Okay, hang on a second. Let's document this moment. Okay, I came on. I was waiting for you, and the camera turned on by itself. I'm telling you, I shift you not. Okay. And we were on for 1:39, and then the camera turned itself off. So I watched it real fast, and it was me poking around the buttons and turning the lights off and on. And then you came on. So I guess we're live again. Man, are we live?
We're on fire.
What was that? How did that happen? How in the hell? You know, I grabbed that channeling that you did, that satirical video you did, and I was going to say we need to like lighten up. You know, I might just play it and act like you came on like we did last time, right? And then that happened. So we were on, for those of you who don't know, we were on for 1:39. I did not push live and I did not push in stream. It just turned on by itself and turned off by itself. So I think that's relevant.
It is. There's an interesting comment here.
What is it?
From Bruce. That's an interesting one.
He has a lot of interesting ones. Did you see him? He came on for 10 minutes the last time we did an open forum. It was amazing. It was amazing. Okay. Yeah, he's always on YouTube. Anytime you watch a YouTube video, if you go back and watch it and push live chat replay, you'll see his comments. Once you get used to him, you understand his logic. It's very intelligent, very intelligent. So what's going on, sister? What's happening? What can you tell us?
I reckon I'm going to be that pancake batter.
Actually, he has a crush on you. He has a crush on you and
Morgan. Bless. Okay, well, how are you today?
Look, my whole face is, my third eye is red, my whole scalp is red, my beard, and I put a bunch of coconut oil on. I treated everything. It's blistering pace. It's a blistering pace. I don't know what else to do, but just relax into it. And what else can you do? The game's on. Victim consciousness is dying. And with it, narcissism's dying. I don't know, Yvania. I'm all yours. You talk. I don't want to talk. And I have a talk show, and this is the third one. But
all right. Well, this should be fun. So maybe we could start with August sort of energies, which we're in pretty much right now, getting scooped up in that vortex, going through the 8-8 Lion's Gate. So as we come up to the 8th, we come smack bang into a mirror, huge mirror. And the purpose of that is to face that huge mirror until it smashes. And it feels like on the 20th, most will have looked in that mirror until it does smash, and then things open up again from there. So it's going to be another huge month. But this is the culmination of a point where I guess you've often heard me say everything is a mirror until it isn't. And part of this, just to almost digress for a moment, and please put me back on track if I forget where I was going.
Don't give me that responsibility. Hey, I just got to tell our sister Sasha Grace, I'm not eating any wheat, sugar, or dairy, but I am juicing, so that might be what's happening. She was just talking about that can be the cause of what I'm experiencing, and other people too, by the way. But go ahead.
It can be. I can't remember where I was going to go. So
well, you were saying that everything is what it is until it isn't, right?
Yeah.
That you often say that.
Yes. And this is one of those things that is part of the reflection of where our outer mirror is, and our feminine is at the moment, with speaking her truth and her knowing. And the collective is a mirror of that, where she is at, right? I think we spoke just briefly on our last little chat we had with the Aussie girls. Yeah. So this whole culmination of what we have been living in, if you like, experiencing everything as a reflection, a mirror of us, is actually not who we are. I'm not a mirror, a reflection of anything but myself. In the other frequency, which I don't even like that word, in the other game of mirrors, everything is a reflection. So everything is a mirror until it isn't. Everything is a reflection because it's being reflected, first off, from that place, that culmination point of what is being projected. So you've got this whole game of this is what's being projected. You look at that and you then mimic, if you like, because that's what that technology does. It mimics our own nature. And so now we are reflecting that nature, if you like. And what happens with, for me anyway, with feminine, a lot of women that I do know, is that there's this inherent part of us that knows that what is being reflected is actually not a part of our own nature. And it's very difficult to try and put into words, but the energy of what I'm saying, hopefully, is coming across a lot smoother than my words are. So when I can write it down, it will come out. When I have to speak it out, but this is part of my own coming out as well, where I can speak this out and get it out into a way that is felt and heard. So it's like this mimicking and this mirroring is not our own nature. We are our own conduits of our own energy and frequency. And then we don't project, we become. And we work as one, as a team, not as a reflection of each other, but as part of each other. And it's like part of this push for finding our truth, finding our voice, finding our individuality through our creativity and through what's happening out there is a whole lot to do with how we come out of the mirrored game and back into our own source and then our own expression. That's a better word rather than a reflection. We are an expression. And they're very different. One mimics and the other expresses who they are, not what is being projected. So you culminate all your own energy, express it, and it just is and becomes, and it's always sort of changing. Whereas here things move a lot slower because of that, the mirroring and the lag time in projection, if you like. This is a pretty intense conversation. Who knew this?
It is, and there's an intense comment too.
Slip
But
sliding.
yeah, well, what a great description. Breaks it down. So it sounds like, from what you're saying, I just visualize there's two things out there. There's this, in all its forms, this offering that we have been inclined or conditioned to mimic, and in that occurrence, we picked up, this is who we are, kind of thing. But it's almost like there's not two things out there. There's that and there's me, right? Because that's what you're saying. It's not like you can look at a tree, or you can walk on the earth and you can ground and align with something that's not that, right? That universal language or universal, whatever you want to call it. But it's really ourselves, isn't it? That's kind of what you're saying.
Well, you've heard me say that everything is us, but it is us. I mean, the essence of everything being one at the very core, beginning of, if you could call it a beginning. But that is such a broad, that is such an expansive concept that we haven't even sort of grasped yet. More like we are mimicking the that is me. I will take that into me, and I will perpetuate that story of me so that you can reflect that to me. And then we can just reflect this reality, if you like, right?
Wow.
So it wants to come through in a way that is more understandable.
Yeah.
And it'll unfold as we chat. There's a few other things that part of this whole conversation feels like to me that it's time to break down and shatter some of those mirrors. And that's where we are as a collective as well. So finding the courage to actually come through and express as that clear current conduit of frequency, of source, that I'm here to express, we're here to express. So there's like this knowing that's always been with me that is that has been tainted a little with some of the spiritual identities, beliefs, and dogmas, if you like. And one of those is like there's a soul and a spirit and there's outside bodies and all these sort of things. And people come to this earth to learn, and it's a school, and we have contracts and we do this and that. And my knowing of where I came in is there is no difference between what we call spirit, soul, and human. It's just, for this example, let's just say that we're either all soul or all human, right? It's not either or, it's just one. So when I think solidified for me last year when I was talking about, hey, the death realms all collapsed, reincarnation collapsed, the astral realms collapsed, and everything just got really real. And part of that point that we reached, we're feeling the residue of right now through this Lion's Gate, because everything that was that came through that channel that was mirrored to us has shattered. And when that space left, a tremendous freedom opened up, but we're feeling the residue in a way that those mirrors really started shattering. We started coming into our own connection more and more with our own source frequency. And it was getting very difficult to tell what is what here as it got louder and louder with the chaos. But the freedom that came was this moment for humanity that was, okay, we're now free to be here in our bodies, in our connection with this planet for however long we choose, like we initially did, right? So there's no cycles anymore of that coming through and living lives. And my particular essence here never did that cycle. I watched and had a look at it and saw how it was working, but I never came through that cycle. And there are a lot of us that didn't. And it's not even like it's I chose that, because it's more of an expression thing. It's just like a frequency. What I'm talking about here is now when we come into this reality, into this planet, it's a frequency that you could describe as like a barcode of different colors. And you might call it the flame, you might call it, it really is, it's like the flame. That's how it comes to me. And it's this frequency that emits, and it sounds like a symphony. And you are either drawn to it or not. It's like, oh, I love that star. I'm really drawn to that star. It feels beautiful. And it's emitting that frequency. And it is music too on another frequency. You hear it, you feel it, you're drawn to it. And then your expression through that. So you come through these lights, through this barcode light. And as you pass through it, you become, it takes your essence. And now you become it and it becomes you. So we're all coming into this one frequency. And it becomes an expression of all of our frequencies, not a projection, but an expression of form. And that is where we're returning to, that expression of form that is unhindered. So how it was shown to me was that barcode, that rainbow barcode that emits that frequency, that is us expressing in our natural form of expression. There was this sort of, these beings that had the technology to be able to capture that moment where you enter into your essence, into that rainbow of barcode that brings your light through and that you code with. Captured, if you like, part of a technology that mimics your nature. And that the only way that they could capture and mimic that was by the mirrors. You could call it something else. You could call it plasma, you could call it ether, you could call it mirrors, but it's a technology that mimics by nature. And often you will hear or see of beings that will reflect back to you exactly what they're seeing. It could be your face, it could be something else, it could be a tree, it could be anything, really. They're very good at mimicking nature. And so it doesn't really mean it's good or bad. It hasn't been really good for us. And it's kind of a lot of people that came in to that expression of form with their innocence, if you like, only to not realize that they were here expressing something else But underneath, there was always that feeling of something isn't quite right. My expression feels blocked. And it has to do a lot with the solar plexus. And of course, the womb. And that solar plexus area where we're connected to our gold, our sun, if you like, is that area that moves up and expresses out into voice, song, expression through our movement through our body. It comes from that area. And with I'm going on such a tangent. I'm going to just.
This is good stuff. No, keep going. Keep going.
With the sun at the moment, really expressing our nature, its nature, because we're affecting everything through the galaxy, and the way that our sun, outer and inner, is expressing is causing this huge expansion and explosion. And that's why that's why at the moment this real need to express and really come to the point, the pinpoint of focus feels so important. Because if we're not pinpointing our own energy, we are simply being used as a conduit for that projection instead of harnessing our own frequency and honing in on that expression point. So if you're a wave and you're the energy behind it, that is the culmination point that wants to become, that is that inspired creativity, action, energy that is now wanting to be pinpointed into expression. And for a lot of us, most of the time we've been this harnessing energy that has been focused. We've just been like floating around at sea because we haven't been harnessing our own energy. We've been a conduit for the other, which has never been who we are, and it never will be. So right now it's coming up to that point where we will come to that mirror and we will see, and the feminine will lead the way, because that energy, that is our planet, that is that barcode frequency, that flame, that is the feminine energy. And it's nothing to do with separation or anything like that. It's just the energy, the frequency of that feminine. And we, as the feminine, are so innately in touch with this, with our own nature. And as we're coming up and not being afraid anymore to speak up and to express this knowledge, this expression within ourselves, it causes such a ripple for other people to come forward, because women have always been revered for their sacred knowledge. And then, of course, we know how far they were squashed because they don't work in a game of mirrors. Women will never work in that game. They only work with their own expression of their own nature. So you can try and stamp them down as much as you want, and then you'll find chaos.
That was a lot. God, when you were talking about that barcode and even the way you were moving your hands, I kept seeing like what you were talking about, like let's just say like an individual soul in space, in the cosmos. And when you said the thing about the stars, right? Like each star is like a toroidal field. And as you were talking about it, I could see that moment you were talking about, trying to take that as technology, basically, that moment. And it's like the moment you go into, let's say, that field, right? Like into one part of it, you know how it comes out at the top, right? And then like what the next thing you were describing to me, like what's happening is the moment we come out. And that's where as you were talking about it, like the mirror shatters. And you're saying that's on or about August 20th. Is that right?
Yeah. A lot of people are shattering already because the energy for this started coming through in May.
Okay.
And there's been huge inward leaps since May, where we really did shift the broadcasting system, like that barcode that emits that frequency. So you've got this broadcast happening, and in its pure form, it's absolutely incredible, and it draws stars, planets, Milky Ways, whatever expressions in through it, and they all swirl through it because it's such a beautiful symphony that everyone gets to express. And then you get this other technology that's sort of there, sitting there, and you get this strange accumulation now because the flow's not even going the right way. And it doesn't quite sound right either. So something is not quite right with that. And for a lot of time, you could say that was, this has been an area that has been either shielded from being noticed because of the frequency it was emitting, or it's been an area that people have not been attracted to because it's obviously, that doesn't feel quite like that. The frequency that, it attracts the frequency that is being emitted, if you like. So our whole broadcasting system completely changed and turned over back to what it was. So now you've got this game. You've got this humanity that is so used to the mirrors, and we use that technology if we like, which we have been using. We're quite good at, manifesting, if you like, in that your thoughts, your beliefs, you get that, you can have that. It comes mirrored to you now. That's that technology. We've got all the mirrors, nothing holding it together, but we're still getting used to how we drive this without the mirrors. And it feels different.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can manifest thought, belief, mirror, done. Something doesn't feel right and it shatters. It shatters straight away. It's not from that place where all of you wants to express from. So it will shatter and go. The other will work fine. It'll open up for you. The next part will open up for you. And then you'll keep moving on your own energy, your own wave, pinpointing as you go with your own creativity, with your own movement, if you like. I hope this is making sense.
No, thank you, because you're explaining this very well. I have a question just to make sure I'm where I think I am with it, because I think I understand you totally. So it sounds like there's two things. One, the operating system is, let's just say, been the mirror system, okay? And so we have basically been a mirror, because once one mimics the operating system and the rest of them start to mimic, and then, of course, the whole, okay. And then the second thing you said was we're trying to get used to it, the new operating system, I guess, right? Which is the old operating system, the original, all right? And we're trying to figure out how to do that. So my question, well, just confirmation on my crappy explanation, but that how does, to your you know, to your knowledge at this point today, because it could change, I know, but what's the best way? Well, where are you at with that? How you're navigating, how you're going moment to moment with what you're talking about. What have you found that works for you, or anything you can offer?
We've been talking for a while now about shattering, breaking down things, and coming from our own, and not listening or mirroring anything else other than your expression. And for some it sounds like, what is she talking about? I don't understand what she means. But if you look at, even in our community or the spiritual arena, and you have a look at some of the information that comes in and then is mirrored out, ask yourself, really come into yourself and ask yourself where that information, if it's coming in, is coming from outside of you. And usually it's funny because it might start with, I love the dear ones, once everyone came with dear ones, blah, 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 right? Is someone outside of me talking to me? Is there something, okay, dear ones? It's you that comes in, your essence that you connect with, that will always say, instead of dear ones, it's like a knowing this is you, and it's meeting that future self, which we can call higher self as well, which sounds funny because we are our higher self. We always have been our higher self. Or meeting that future self in that 0 point, because we're always traveling, I always say this, back and forth through time and space. Naturally, underneath everything, it's very subtle until you start to really commune with self. And it'll be your own energy, you will know, not a mimicking of your energy or a mimicking of something that feels like it could be a loving energy. Yes, there is assistance, but let's not get carried away with assistance from outside ourselves. There is assistance until there isn't assistance. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, let me just, again, go back so you can kind of give a confirmation and answer another question, or keep going. So, like, I think I get what you say in a lot of ways. So, like, an example would be, I think, what you were referring to is, post over the last 10 years that might say, dear ones, we are the galactics, we are this, we are that, we have this message. And then at some point you realize, man, I've seen this message before. But by the same token, you can read 10 of those. Mm-hmm. And now and then it looks like it might be saying the same thing. There's something in there that you go, oh yeah, that's, and you might even share it or something, right? I mean, I think this is where you're going with it. So it sounds like what you're talking about is, to put it another way, we're going from being mirrors to being reflections, and the more not reflections, expressions, which is just us, and the world has one fewer mirror. And then the mirrors are actually looking at something, I guess, they haven't seen that's very familiar. Right. Right. You know what I mean? Like, at least they've got something else to look at if it works that way. Maybe it's a trigger, whatever, but right.
Yeah.
Or maybe
well,
maybe they don't see them. I don't know. I mean, how does it work?
When the mirrors don't have when they don't have conduits left to reflect, they have no purpose.
Yeah.
Because they aren't an expression of our nature. They are a reflection, a mimicking of our nature. So things become completely different. It feels different. It's on a different expressive frequency altogether. So, what was the first part of your question?
Oh, it wasn't a question. I was just.
That's right. We were talking about those, how we get those messages, which are, some of them are really profound and beautiful and helpful.
Yeah.
Until they're not. Because they are still coming from outside.
Yeah.
And even if you are at the school of thought, well, that's me and that's me and that's me, so it doesn't matter, everything's me, so why don't I just reflect everything?
Yeah.
That's the school we've been coming from. So coming forward and expressing our own human being in this body at this time, in this place. And really, that point of focus becomes you. Turns in, right? That frequency, that conduit, the current that you are becomes pinpointed and focused within and then expressed out. Not mirrored out, not reflected out. And then others who aren't mirrors or reflections of you are utterly unique expressions of this frequency. That is just, any way I can describe it, is just gold. It's just such a beautiful, joyful, playful expression of this particular frequency.
God, I got to do something. I never pay attention to bots, or what they call them, trolls, but I have to defend this this feminine energy, because, and this could be brought up in a normal conversation, that basically this troll says her points are backed by no science or any basis of research. It's delusional. This is innate, and science is the mirror operating system, the education system, and so on. And I just want to make the point, first of all, that this is exactly why to follow this truth. And we'll just block them from the channel after this show. But this is exactly what's happening. This is exactly what Soulogy inspires to be. And that's not me talking. That's everything that's involved with that. And that is what you said earlier. Even if you look back to the innate things that the feminine shared, and we're talking herbs, we're talking ritual, we're talking a lot magic. That was, that's our roots. That's our operating system. And no, there's not going to be, any science. That's the point. and
Well,
don't mess with my sisters, man. But
the measuring, you can't measure. You cannot measure what we are. You simply cannot.
That's right.
And these conversations, especially with women, you know, let's be honest, I couldn't give two flying Fs about what science can prove and measure, because it's not in my own nature, and neither is it in my mother planet, this earth where I live. And they might say, well, Earth is science. You can made up of this particle, that particle, and it always is changing. The science of yesterday is completely different to the science of today, and it will continue always changing, because our own nature is always changing. You can measure the mirrors, and you can put everything into a box in that arena. And I think the more that we look for the science behind everything, the more we miss the very heart of where everything is. There is no science in love.
There's not. There's not. There's so many examples of that. Like these, I saw this crazy story the other day that this dog got separated from its family, or, you know, from its owners. They were traveling. And he's like, I don't even know, you know, like 60 miles away or something. And the dog shows up 2 weeks later. That's love. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a frequency. It's a frequency unto itself. And it comes from expressing your own nature of self. Expressing this form, you know, this frequency of form. And yeah, I think we're moving. You know, quantum physics is fantastic because it can explain a lot, but it's still not where it's at, because it's a lot of that is conduits of mirrors as well, whereby everything will reflect and can be at different spaces. But some of it is fantastic for explaining, and others it's not useful as we're moving forward, and it doesn't matter with expression. Where that airy fairy stuff of dreaming and becoming and creating and getting really our hands into the clay and sculpting and expressing is where it's at. The male side is the scientific side that likes to pinpoint. And at the start, this is where we got into trouble. How do we map what she's doing? How do we put this into a formula, you know, so we can harness this technology that just seems to continually express and change form as it feels to? Incredible, right? Because you can't program anything to match this nature that we are. You can mimic it, but nothing will ever come close to our own nature and the frequency that we are as we express through the stars, through the galaxy, through the universe of all that we are.
It's like, if you looked at it from the human level, what if in the, you know, in the Middle Ages, it had gone the other direction, 180 degrees? What if, or think about just energetically, like, what if an entire world adopted herbal and holistic teachings that had been, you know, handed down through the DNA and oral history and whatever, you know, through the grandmothers, right? I mean, think about if it had gone that direction, like the other total opposite direction. That's kind of like what's happening now. Like, how do you map out what that is? You don't. You just engage it, right? I mean,
and how do you know something? How do you know that herb is good for that? How do you know? How do you know what you know? And because when you do, something happens in the body, and it just rings through, and every channel opens. It feels like a note is hit, and it just reverberates, and it just includes that as part of who you are, because it is part of who you are, it actually is. And you just know it. And this is where we got off track with the, I just know it, prove it. Get stuffed proving it. I know it. I don't need to prove it. It's the proving and the thinking that is that part of that reflection, part of those mirrors. So yeah, I couldn't give two shits if there are trolls, because we're past shit's real. Shit's getting real. And you know, it'd be nice to have a really lighthearted, because you know I like to have fun and have a joke, and because that's what we're here to do, right?
I know.
And we're having a bit of a serious chat because we're coming up to that place within our collective where it's just time to shatter those mirrors and really come into your own way of being, and not listening to the BS that goes on out there about everything.
Yeah.
I had a bit of a discussion with my partner this morning, and he was saying exactly what was being regurgitated. And I said, it's interesting that you are regurgitating what you are being told, but I'd like to have a conversation with you and not what you're being fed, and how you feel about that, right? Now, the more that we do that, the more that we speak from our truth, from that, not interested in what anything else outside of me has to say or outside of you has to say. This shit's been regurgitated through all the systems and all religions and all through. I don't want to hear the regurgitation. I want to hear and feel your expression of you and your truth and your knowing. I'm not here to be a mirror. I'm here to be an expression of who I am.
He may not recover for a couple of weeks, but this is the physical, a little snapshot of the physical, manifestation of what you're really describing. You know that, right? I mean, and that what you were talking about earlier as well, when I said I saw this toroidal field, and at some point in that brilliant explanation, you were saying who we are, and I kept picturing again coming out the other. Well, first of all, really the whole space of jumping into it, and then that little chat, that little channel, and then coming out, that whole space, that moment that's us, right? And you were saying how you're, and I was getting it like you're like diving into yourself, even though you're diving in, and that would kind of like, you would seem like it's there, but it's just like the plant thing. It's no different an experience than the plant thing, because you come across the plant, like you said, it looks like something you like. If you didn't, you wouldn't stop, and then you basically have that moment, and that plant becomes you become the plant, and you move on, right? I mean, it's really the same thing.
Because in that moment, that very plant is recognized as an expression of you, not a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're moving through the energy of you and the frequency of you, and not the reflection and the mirror of who you are not. When you dive into yourself, and when we dive into that fixed in the toroidal, let's say, the loop, so it's not flowing, the source is actually flowing off our own reflections, our own emotions, our own everything, right? It's powering in this loop, rather than flowing as this clear channel of our own expression. So when you dive into that and everything is a reflection, it's like, holy shit,
No wonder we don't want to go to Walmart. Right? No wonder we don't want to go places.
What the heck is going on? Yeah, and if you're told this is normal, you just go along with the reflections. Do what is the normal, and get in line and do as you're told, and just be. There is a way to express your dreams and ambitions within this reflection. You can have more money. You can have the grandest career, and everything serves the reflection, and everything mines from that reflection. It's all sourced from the gold that is floating around without realizing that it is the gold. Don't need that anymore. So yeah, as we're moving through this Lion's Gate and coming up to that big mirror, which is going to be, it's almost like a returning to self of all the things that you've ever loved, but then someone told you they were shit, they were loopy, or they were never going to make it in the game of mirrors, because nobody needs that, nobody wants to hear it, nobody wants to see it or feel it. It's a returning to all of that expression that you came in with, the desire to express. And as we were little and we had that joyful spark of gold, and we had that imagination, and we had this surge of everything is possible. Everything. I can be anything I want to, right? I can express anything I want to. That returning and coming back to the very beginning is that point where you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at this limited reflection of something that is nothing like you. And the more you look at it, the more it shatters, and the more when it shows up in others, the more it's just like, I don't live in your reflection. Don't give me your reflection. I want to see who you are behind that mirror.
Amen. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, thank you for letting me express that. And yeah, I think we're past the point of worrying about whether we're going to lose friends or lose anything. We can't lose anything in expressing.
You don't, and that's the whole point. Like the discussion that you openly shared with your partner. That's it. That's conversation with self. You know, that's it. I mean, that's what I was saying earlier today on with Ty. I mean, and you explain it so much better, because I think like a lot of people, I'm still playing with words of separation. I mean, it's so much to be said for the way you explained everything today, because there's fewer words. It's very clear. But for instance, today, you know, before I ran into you, it was victim consciousness stands here. That's the mirror, what you call the mirror operating system, let's just say. And then it's just like, it's all or nothing now. I mean, it's just one way or the other. And and what I like about what you're saying too, is there's nothing personal. And that's taken some getting used to, because when you have the conversation or create the atmosphere that you created with your partner, you're not losing anything. You're just saying, I'm just interested in seeing you, right? I mean, that's what you're saying. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, because we can say that to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's really kind of a human way of saying what this is what you see. What are your feelings about? And I just want to add too real quick too. I think this is interesting. that mid-May, and I believe it was Sandra, Jason, and basically Franco, they talked about a new opening beginning about mid-May, that in the first part of it would take a couple of weeks just to get used to. But there was very much a free flow. And to hear you talk about how this came in May, it almost like this is where it this picks up where that left off. And it obviously feels very expansive. I don't know what their intel is for August and beyond that, but what is your feeling for, in any way, what happens post August 20?
Well, that's what I was talking about. So many people are going through right now the game of mirrors. And then it's like you spend some time in that mirrored room. You really have no choice but to look in the mirror. And then it's like our collective oneness culminates in smashing the mirrors, and more and more and more of us smash, smash, smash up to August 20. And then you have the effects of that ripple. So it's almost every time you come to one of these massive culmination points, you get the debris that gets swelled up in that vortex before it swells out and throws off. So the culmination is going to build and build and build from this, from the 20th. So you get some nice time of self-reflecting and whatever, that every day is a million different things, a million different expressions and some reflections, right? Navigating, which is me. But if you're focusing on the reflections, you're having a wild time, you're out at sea, So after that, the culmination moving into September is phenomenal. But we get to a space, this is the thing, we get to a space where, like from 2023 and earlier for a lot, where we're in such a state of sovereignty in knowing our own self and our own source and expression of that game of mirrors and the chaos that is occurring through the clearing just doesn't worry us anymore. It almost gets like a really glitchy holographic reflection of something,
So it sounds like there's obviously whatever universal movement, collective movement, and that's bigger than all of us. And as a result of that, we'll have less of a charge when it comes to things being presented to us, whether it be a law you have to abide by or something on a personal level. I mean, I'm just trying to get
finding our voice. This is why we're finding our expression. This is why it's important and to listen to that feminine within who is just utterly tired of looking at a reflection that is not who she is or who we are, and to bring it out and forth, because in the pain body, which is the reflection that are the mirrors, being in that room of pain is not a great feeling space to be. And that is one side, if you like, of how long it may take us to find our knowing and our wisdom of what really is our own expression of our own nature in our own bodies, with this frequency that only is expressing purity, togetherness, expansion, joy, creativity, and none of the harm and none of the control and none of the rules and none of the leaders and none of the teachers and none of that. It's such a different space, and it's culminating and it's building as that other is falling away, and it is happening, and we don't have to do anything for it to happen. The thing is it's going to happen anyway because it's just happening within the body. It's how long it happens for and how long we spend in that reflection, in that pain body of being, that's why I was saying with the feminine, we know what it feels like. It still goes on today, even in 2021. I was out last week and I was with my partner and he introduced me to someone he was talking to, and I was at a football club at a do.
What's a do?
Whatever. Just like
I
don't know, it was like a do.
A do.
Whatever, you just have drinks.
A to-do, you mean like a to-do, like a big to-do. I'm sorry, keep going.
It's like a thing. And he introduced me to this guy, and he said, "Oh, how you going? Nice to meet you." Straight back to the conversation about football, and just it was like I wasn't there at all. And it was that old energy, which is rife where I live. It's been interesting coming into it, and I will speak when that happens. My response to that was to just be in my body first and foremost, feel what I was feeling, to know that that is a reflection. It's not who I am. Turn and walk to where I can talk to some other people who are on my own frequency. And then later on said to my partner, if you choose to do that again, I will never accompany you to anything ever again. That's the old patriarchal energy that is like totally dismissive, and it's just ridiculous. Just not putting up with it. We've had that for too long.
Yeah.
And it became acceptable, and it is no longer acceptable. No longer.
Yeah.
And it's taking a while to get used to, because it feels very different, because it's a sharp point, but it's not a hurtful. It's just
it's necessary.
This is the frequency of no harm. It's very to the point, very, very fine-tuned to where it needs to go, the culmination, the current, and the focal point of where it needs to go, and then ripple out. And it doesn't do harm, but it's very much straight shooting.
Yeah. Because that's the energy of, like, you put your hand out to shake someone's hand, they don't shake it. It's that kind of energy. Dismissive. I like that word. I wonder, it's such a fine line. I wonder how it translates. Like, for instance, if we use as an example the demonstrations and protests that occurred in Australia a few days ago. On one hand, that's you would think, finding the voice, right? But on the other hand, it's, a bunch of mirrors reflecting a big mirror, right? You know what I mean? And so I just wonder, without any moral, just wondering, I wonder how something like that would translate. I wonder if what would I try to say? The more pure, I don't know, energy, the path that's going to happen anyway. I wonder if it would translate into people not, because like you said earlier, there's this field of not worrying about stuff. It's like you said, almost holographic, right? Like it's not even there kind of thing. Like it's there, but it's like, hey, that's just not even, you know what I mean? I wonder how that's gonna. You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Let's not get too carried away with whether, in that instance, where we're reflecting, because what we're expressing, some people will be reflecting, but what we're expressing is our right, our frequency, our
sovereignty.
Our sovereignty, thank you, to express and be as we are, not controlled and not told what to do, and not following a regurgitated BS line of what's actually occurring and happening in this game of reflections and fear and whatever, So just that is what's growing here is don't squash us down anymore. Stop controlling us. Stop telling us what to do. And that's what happens in the reflections. But you have to get to face that reflection, and enough is enough. Shatter, gone. But you have to get to that point where you're expressing. So it's not like, oh, don't do anything. This is not a time on this planet to not do anything and just, oh, I'm just going to sit here and raise the frequency. You're not raising the frequency. It already is.
Yeah.
It just does.
Like another thing that comes to mind, like the way you explain this, is there's all these mirrors. There's nothing personal. There's all these mirrors, and no matter what, all the mirrors are going to shatter, and we're all standing there in our true, you know what I mean? Like when we talk about, I can look at so-and-so and I see their soul, but like, that's just the way it is. Like you said, it's not about, it's really, when you get right down to it, like through your explanation, it's about busting the mirrors.
Yeah. Busting the mirrors.
Yeah. And then being like your thing with your partner, which is really just a small description of the next thing that you discussed in regard to the general thing. It's the same thing. You're still describing it from you walking, or any of us walking into a field, and you basically are pointing out that it's a mixed bag, I guess. Some of those would be reflecting with a charge, and others would be saying, hey, I don't have a charge, but I'm like not taking this anymore, right? I mean, that's the energy of some of those people, and I would think probably a good majority of those people is, I'm not taking this, because there was a lot of different, types of people there, young, older, a lot of professional. I mean, it was pretty impressive.
Yeah, and a lot of people in that reflection ridiculed, absolutely ridiculed for spreading fear of death.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Fear in that regard either anymore.
Say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out on my end.
The fear of death is what's being spread here, isn't it? The very fear of death, which has completely disintegrated. Not that it ever wasn't disintegrated, but in that world of reflections and the loot, whatever, it was quite real. Death was really scary. don't leave without, covering up. And we even had something here the other day where one of our leaders said not to talk to each other.
I saw that.
Just, that was such
I saw that last night. Yeah.
Such a great example of putting the fear of death, more fear of death into the reflections, please. We need some more. And we probably do until we get to that point, where it's like, okay, I no longer fear that. Therefore, I am free to be.
God, I saw that last night, and I saw this other video where We Are Change, Luke Rudowski, who did some great work. He showed a video. He showed a video of like 4 minutes or 2 minutes or whatever it was of Dr. Fauci back and forth. There must have been, I don't know, 20, 30 clips. He would say one thing and then contradict it. And I mean, these were wear a mask doesn't help. Wear one mask. No, you don't need a second one. Yes, you do. And I was watching it and I was thinking, you know what he sounds like? And now you've made me realize it. He sounds like a parent who's telling them or their kids one lie after another. And and now that you're telling me about what you're saying right now, I picture that moment when a teenager realizes basically the parents can't kill them. Like, what can they do? You know what I mean? And then you have that moment of liberation. And that's
power.
Yeah.
I hold the power here.
Yeah. And then they realize, and so like talking to you today, that part of me that I think exists in all of us. I mean, that little part of us that's still going, oh, I'm watching, and wow, this is, can get caught up in it, feels better. Because in talking to you, I see that the Dr. Fauci thing came back in my head, and that's just just one example of what I'm getting at is that energy is grasping at straws, just like a parent as their kids, and they know their kid's going to get to that point because they've been there.
Yeah, continually changing the story, trying to make up for continuously. And you just get to that point and you're like, hang on a minute. They outright just lied.
Yeah.
It's all been a lie just to keep me in line, basically. And then you get then you get to the fun part of discovering what you can do, with your power, which is another thing in itself, because the frequency that we're in, if you try and do with the power, you'll come smack bang up against a mirror, and you won't be coming from your own expression, because we don't have that harmful nature, or that I want to control everything with my power sort of thing. You can in the game of reflections if you like, but it's fast disintegrate. It doesn't last long.
That's another thing I'm picking up from you today too, is because I've always cringed when people do give dates of whatever. I mean, to a point, right? And because I really believe that there is literally a quantum leap accessible to us. In so many words, it could happen at any moment. I mean, we're that close. I mean, and I look at, again, how does this play out? How much, I mean, for instance, obviously you don't go out and go 100 miles an hour down the highway or something, but am I to extract from every part of that mirror operating system to include passports, laws, that's that control? I mean, are we getting to this point? I mean, that's why I was asking the question about the marching. But I guess in going back to what you said at the top of the show too, was about how you have your own, essentially you have your own, it's you. there's a bunch of yous out there, right? It's like the marching's a good metaphor. You've got a bunch of people walking down the soul highway, basically, in this fishbowl that's been created for our expansion. And some bubbles are more materialized than others, but there's some congealment occurring, like flower of life congealment that's occurring, I think.
And at some stage we'll get to the point where that isn't created for our expansion. It is actually up to us how we get into our own expression, because we don't create things for our own expansion. We don't come to learn soul lessons or do any of that. We come for a joyful expression of our frequency and form. We're right now in such an incredible time of, I don't know if you've been feeling that vulnerability, a rawness underlying everything. Yeah. And this time is so unique and special and incredible because it's never happened before, will never happen again. But it's that moment where everything makes sense. You stop wondering and asking, and you just move into knowing. Every single minute of time here, from here on in, is so incredibly precious for this experience right now. So if I could give any advice, if you like, is to live the shit out of every single minute the way you choose to, because it's such an expansive time, and every minute of this is precious.
Yeah,
it really is. And I remember our gathering, our silent gathering, is on 8/8.
Wait a minute. Hang on, let me go into.
I haven't changed the thing yet because I'm waiting for your.
Yeah, but the reason I want to do it now is because because of the time difference. I just want to make sure. Do you know what time it is Eastern? Or I have a converter. Hang on.
Ours is so it'll be on for Australian Eastern Standard Time. It'll be 9 a.m. on Sunday the 8th.
Okay, so I got it right here. So that's going to be 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, 7, and that's on the 8th. No, wait, is that on your 8th?
It's on our 8th. Yep. So it'll be on your 8th.
Your 8th at 8 p.m. Is that what you said? 8 p.m. Right?
9 a.m. Ours at 9 a.m.
Oh, I'm sorry, 9 a.m. That's what I had first. Okay, so 9 a.m. All right, so I'll go back and generate that right after we get done. Whew, this is awesome, man. I'm loving this mirror thing.
This is awesome too. It's just as you were saying, the 7 for you and 8 for us. And when I watched the human template, our golden template, forming as like a humanity in form, it was made up of 7s and 8s. 7s being.
When was this? When was this?
This was just my memory of and witnessing of as it was.
That's significant.
Form 7s and 8s. 8 being the infinity spark, the infinite gold that we are, and the 7s being the expression of all light and music, really the expression and movement of sound, and the 7s and the 8s. And it was beautiful. Who we are is incredibly beautiful.
I know. Like I love the thing about the mirrors because I don't know. It just, I can just see it. Like you can see it. It's like being in a crazy multiplistic fun house, right? You know those, do y'all have those over there? You know, with the mirrors, with the funny mirrors, you walk in, it's just at the circus, right? And you just, and you, like, it's almost like you think the reality's in the mirror, like some kind of paranormal thing where you jump in the mirror, like, what is it called? Narnia. But you shatter the mirror and then it's like cosmic space. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like like you said, limitless. It's anything and everything. This is.
Then you come into oneness. That's a conversation again. What happens, like with these gatherings, we're coming into togetherness in the silence. We're coming into togetherness with our silence because we're not bringing our reflections with us. We're not bringing agenda with us. And once we are raw, naked expressions with each other and then of each other, nothing like a reflection, but to experience this togetherness, this oneness, it's a whole different view when it's not a reflection.
Yeah. God, that's powerful, that explanation too, because you hear people talk about over the years containers. Like I remember having a show with somebody the first time that we've had a lot of shows, and they were like, don't say hi to everybody on the show. I used to say hi to everybody, back in the day. And as we were getting ready, and they said that was tainting the container. But now here, your explanation of the silent unification, like fear's not even in the field. People just being themselves. How much of a merging do you think occurs, like on this one coming up on 8/8? How much of emerging, like in respect to how much code exchange do you think there is in a situation like that today?
How much does it feel? Where did the question come from? Yeah. Like,
and even like, how much did you intend the last time you went, Todd? Like it's the limitless. That expression is the limitless part of us, right? I mean, we can go in with the right intention, the right alignment with the heart, and seek anything, I guess.
well, you can, but there's a slight difference. But the more that we get with these gatherings in the silence, without an agenda, without even just without the intention even, and just coming together to experience each other. Underneath, so some of our gatherings, you can feel that there's a little bit of an agenda or an intention for, can I get something I want something out of this. And then there's like, I don't want to give you something. I want you to find your thing so that we can have this beautiful in the middle kind of, I don't know, there's this, we're actually expressing something together here. This is how we come together as one. We're expressing something when we're not reflecting and we're not having an agenda. Together as one, we're actually making an expression of that culmination of every single one. And it's not a reflection, and it's something completely
It's like
new.
a flower of life.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of
circles.
So
which culminates into form, into a organic grid, into an expression of that particular togetherness, that frequency of togetherness, what that does, which is how that flame is, that barcode, if you like.
Weird. That area, the ball, the solar, that area. It's just, I'm glad you mentioned that because of because the last 2-3 days, and even like and I'm not really connecting with anyone, but when you come into a certain field, like I felt it come on earlier. I was messaging Morgan and it was there already, but it came in again. And then talking to you, it's come up again. So I feel like obviously there's a connection there. I guess like from your explanation, it's collective, and that's a good sign. This is a great conversation because it's even for those parts of us that can become are still carrying, the parts of us are carrying a little bit of pessimism or, distraught or tired, right? I mean, that's that feminine you were talking about. These aren't necessarily bad things, but it's good to hear or feel the congruence of how because oftentimes you sit there and go, okay, I'm here, but how do I get there? But this kind of helps fill it in,
Yeah. And just being here will move you there. As you are here. And it's okay to be all of those things.
Yeah.
It's just don't get stuck in the reflection. Don't start diving in with something is wrong with me. Something needs to be fixed with me. Like it does out there. It needs to be fixed,
Wow. Yes, that's a big one. Yeah. That's big because it's a new operating system.
It is.
And maybe that's what happened in May or whatever. It's a new operating system, and that's that's not even a single identity death. That's multiple identity deaths. Yeah.
It is.
I can't get over the consistent and steady expansion of that knowing that you're talking about. And like you said earlier too, somehow you said it, I think you said it in the barcode explanation, the way things are, the way we expand ourselves is like that moment jumping into that toroidal, right? Like that thing you were talking about. Like it all comes with us, even though it may seem from a human standpoint that we're getting rid of this or getting rid of that, or in a sense, getting rid of identity, but it's actually code itself, isn't it? Like it's information, which is really cool because we're going to go into, it sounds like we're going into a more mirrorless environment. And with that contrast, our grace and our gratitude and our love and our everything is going to just be off the charts.
How expression.
God, it felt good to say that. Big bubble just came out. Did you hear it? It's like
came up from the solar plexus and out.
You can't make it up.
Yeah.
Wow. What a great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. We always have.
Yeah, but this is like, man, I said this to that lady yesterday, Gail. The last show is always the best show, and I guess when I get down to it, it's not always, but there certainly seems to be levels of it. Like a lot of stuff we all do, it's ebb and flow and streaky, but it's a good feeling.
Yeah,
good feeling in a mixed energetic time, but everything's all right.
Yeah, mixed energetic, yes. And that's why important to still. That mixed feeling is that you're being a conduit of something else So you harness that in the body, harness your own energy. It comes in feeling like that, but you are grounded in your body as it comes through and back out in that peace, neutrality, the 0 point. Just be with it, let it go, don't grab onto it and fix with it, and see the reflection of that chaos, just be with it.
Yeah.
It's okay to be wherever you are.
Yeah.
And if chaos is where it feels good, hey, that's your buzz. You can do that.
Well, and I love it too, because again, it moves past the wordiness, right? I mean, like you're saying, there's nothing to be. I know it sounds crazy, but there's nothing to be. It's especially since May and the new, let's just say there's a new operating system. That's a lot easier to fall into,
And there's everything to be.
Yeah.
But that isn't known until that now, in that culmination.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one thing. I know we stayed on a long time, but I just want to ask you one thing. Just from the human experience, just so kind of see boots on the ground, what did it feel like? Because I know because you talked about it a little bit when y'all came on, that little Aussie broadcast. You were going to go to Western Australia, and literally the lockdown occurred, and you're in Tasmania, and you couldn't go. Like, obviously you got, and again, it's not so much about the situation. I'm just trying to understand, like, the energy. Like, how did you take this on? How did it feel, and how did you come out of it? But like, you definitely must have gotten some strong intel. Go get a ticket, you're leaving, right? Kind of thing. And then you make the plans, and then, or whatever your reason for going. I shouldn't have been presumptuous, because I know you have something you go to in Gympie, but then you have this happen. So like, in this mix that we're all in right now, how did you take that on, and what did you do with it? You know what I mean?
Well, Gympie's also been cancelled at this stage. So, yeah, because of whatever. So I wanted to go to WA, and really the reflections, that mirror was so friggin' awful that I was sick of sitting in the room and looking at it. And I just wanted to be with, my best friend, and just get the heck out of here, because nothing was flowing for me. And I felt like I was just dying continuously, like these intense deaths, just over and over again. And I was in a state of dis-ease, sitting in this shit show, right? So I'm getting out of here, and I felt like I need to get out of here. Everything was, get the heck out of here. Let's just bail. And then it was like, nope, you're not going. And in that moment where it all stopped and I'm not going, a huge weight lifted off. I came back into my own expression, seeing the mirrors, and I felt like, yes, I went on that holiday already. I know exactly why I wanted to go. I felt like I'd been on that trip and got exactly what I needed out of it to return in this incredible expression, new expression of self. So it was a really quick, exciting holiday trip. That's how that unfolded. So you know, I talk about this stuff and I do this stuff.
Wow.
We all do it. We all do it together.
Far out.
Yeah.
Whew, man, what a day. All right.
It's
All
awesome.
right. Yeah, it is. It's good seeing you.
Yeah.
Every time I see you, I think back to August 2018, I'm sorry, New Jersey. Message from Yvania in my dark moment. Didn't even know you.
It was, I know, but do you know how we actually did meet?
How?
It was actually through Sveta. I was on a call with Sveta, video, and you were in a bad space, and you kind of, she introduced us, and you were like, oh, hey, how you going? You know, blah, blah, blah. And you went off, and then you actually sent me a message and said,
Oh,
hey,
that's right.
I apologize.
That's right. I remember.
I got in a good space. And I was like,
Yeah.
hey, all good. And then we chatted from there.
Yeah, I had like the biggest download. God, I just remember I did a video. I was crying for like 18 minutes. And I was absolutely told you got to do it. And but like my passport had gotten rejected, and it was just a bad. But and I can't believe I even brought this up, because I was thinking about this. I was talking to Ty on an earlier show today, and one of the things he talks about, which is what Zveta talks about, and I didn't know that we met through Zveta, but they talk about this. You know, Zveta talks about the spiral. Ty talks about, and a lot of people do, about how at the same time on the calendar, whether it be the yearly calendar, like something like the Da Vinci spiral, where it's broken down over years, the same energy presenting itself. And one of the things I was thinking about, I think I had been reminded by something I saw on Memories or something, and I was thinking about what happened 10 years ago, and then I was like looking at it through the years, and now and that phone call probably took place on this day in 2018. I mean, it was literally the same time period.
Yeah, everything's coming full circle, really, and it's like I said, a beautiful time to be here with that full circle of, with this expression, with this frequency that's happening right now. Such a precious time, really, to savor every moment here, every moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I really. I see the connectivity, and just from where I sit, my own experience, and I think about, why did I say all that? But it actually all aligned with what you were saying, and then you do what? You're standing there and you share it. But one of the main reflection that came out of that experience that you're pulling together is that to see, because the energies don't look exactly the same, or at least the physical representation, but the energy itself does. And like what I got from you today too is kind of, I didn't know it, but this is what came out of all that, was that to be able to look at the energies and see them and have those points of context, and not react as you did before, or at least take a pause and don't engage the energy, because it doesn't always physically appear the same way. It's just, you know what I mean? So thank you for filling that one up too. This has been a great time. Very special.
Yeah.
So
every one of us special. So much love to everybody. Huge hugs, and look forward to seeing and feeling everybody on the 8th. I'll put, when you send me the Zoom link, I'll pop something up on Soulogy page. And what do we do if we're not watching, if we're not on Facebook and we're on YouTube, and we need a link? What do we do then?
I'm seeing if I have a template for this already. I'm
I
going to
know.
make it. I'm going to make it right now.
Yeah. A
So
lot of
that's
people
gonna,
are on Facebook.
so you can watch it beneath. Yeah, beneath every announcement, there's always some text that says lives and replays available on. So you can watch the silent unification, which is at 9 a.m. Australia Eastern Standard Time, which is hang on, going to be 4 o'clock in LA, 7 in New York, midnight in London. So we're talking about August the 8th, August the 7th in the Northern Hemisphere. And you can watch it on SoulogyNetwork.com. You can watch it on Soulogy One Studios YouTube channel and on a variety. Well, you can watch it on Twitch and you can watch it on Periscope, but you can also watch it on a variety of Facebook platforms, such as Soulogy Group, Soulogy One Studios page.
What if we don't and we want to join it?
Say what? Oh, you're talking about the. I'm sorry. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
We don't want to watch it. We want to join it, and we're
I
not.
totally had it. Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, you just click the Zoom link.
Okay. Can we share that on YouTube?
I could. Well, that's why I'm confused. I'm sorry. I went into thinking we were restreaming. We haven't restreamed that. Do you want to do it live? Is that what you're saying?
No, just like,
Afterwards.
Like how if people want to join that aren't on Facebook, because we share the event and the link on Facebook, but really if you've got the link, you can join from outside of Facebook. And I know that a lot of people watch on YouTube and then not on Facebook, and they might be like, hey, what's this gathering that they talk about, how can they join? Can they join? You put something in the comments.
Yeah, but I guess what you're saying is where can we get that link to? Where can we get the link to so people can access it that are not on Facebook? So
the Zoom link.
I think it'd be a good idea. Huh? No, I think it'd be a good idea though. No, this is a very good point. I didn't understand what you were saying and I apologize. I think it'd be a good idea to put it on a couple of the websites that are involved with it, such as Morgan's, such as Soulogy, such as yours, by the way, because you have a website. And that's a good thing to think about because you're right. There's a very limited, that limit, like on our multi-stream, it's probably 60% of the audience. So there's a 40% there that wouldn't have access to the link.
Yeah.
What I can do is I'll make the link right now and then I'll put it in the comments. Okay. Tell you what, let me make it now because I can actually put it in the comments and it goes to all the platforms, but I have to do it while we're live. Is that okay? Do you have a second?
Yeah.
Can you do the or do you want me to play a little
No.
I was going to put on the Okay, hang on. Let me just make it real quick. Okay, I already got it open up. So this is the oh my God, silent unification. And this 3D stuff is hard to do. Can't even spell. Okay, so we're looking at 8. It's going to be 8/7 at 7 p.m., which is 9 a.m. Australia Eastern Standard Time. So let me just.
What are you putting on? 8/8.
Well, I'm. It's
8/7.
Yeah. So it's 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Let me double check. 5, 6, 7. Okay, and okay. So it's 7 p.m. 8/7 Eastern Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, which is LA. And
9
it's going to be 9 a.m. 8/8. Yes. So it's 8/8 in the Southern Hemisphere. And it's midnight in London, so it's basically 8/8 in Europe.
Yeah.
And everything's set. So here we go. Bingo. I'll get the link and let me just go ahead and copy that. And then I'll put it on all the platforms as we speak. And it's 1 hour, 44 minutes and 44 seconds. Can't make this stuff up. Okay, boom, there it is. So that is the, in fact, let me put silent meditation link for 8.8, and then I'll add it. That way, if anyone comes back and sees it, paste, then they'll have it as well. They'll have a more clear path.
Wonderful.
Okay, cool. So I will send that to your
Can you just check that one? Just check that link through. I don't want to be on here live just doing this, but yeah, that one's clickable. The new one isn't clickable. Might be.
You just copy and paste them.
Might be too bunched up there.
Oh wait, I see what I did wrong. God dang it! Thank you. Okay, so here, link for the silent. Thank you. Meditation. I don't know if it's spelled right. Okay, boom, boom, boom. On 8.8. 8/8 space. That's what I did wrong. And then paste. Okay, so here we go. All right, boom. Okay, so that should be good now. Let me make sure it went through, because sometimes they don't. Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're good. Okay, we're good. All right, Yvania, I love you. Thank you. Can't wait to hold you in my arms in person. And
yes,
let's break the fucking mirrors. Let's break the mirrors. Yeah, like a bunch of little kids.
Yep.
Probably gonna get to that point pretty soon. We'll just start laughing at each other.
Absolutely.
You take care. Take care.
Bye.